Okay, so let's just share some of the objectives of what we're going to cover today. So this webinar is really designed to help you understand what the programme is all about. You might have already heard us calling the programme PTCQ, so it stands for Parental Transition Coaching Qualification, and because of course that is a mouthful, we just call it PTCQ, so it's just a lot easier, rolls off the tongue. So the first thing by the end of this webinar is obviously, other than meeting me and Andy and Jill, is really understanding what parental transition coaching is. So really understanding how it's different from other types of coaching and why it warrants a full 12-week programme to delve into the content. We're also going to have a look at some of the benefits as well to you as a coach, how it's going to help your own development and your own progression, and what it could mean for your future as a niche coach in this area, how it helps coachees. So we've started already to allude to some of the examples of things that we ourselves have been through, so we know how support at this time would have really helped us, but we'll also look at how it helps organisations as well, and how this can really change organisational culture. And then the third one is what we're going to cover in the programme. So a whistle-stop tour on the themes that we generally cover across the 12 weeks, and also the accreditation process itself. So taking you through what you would need to do to get that ICF accreditation, what you would need to do to get the ICF CCEs, so the number of hours collated during the programme. So I'm now going to hand over to Andy, who's going to take you through some of the content.
Thanks so much, Helen. Thanks everyone for your introductions. It's really great to kind of hear a little bit more about you all. And yeah, I think it sounds like you've all had those experiences which are which will kind of help you just to, I guess, understand just how important it is to have this parental transition coaching on offer. So first of all, we just want to look at kind of what is it, what are the benefits. So parental transition coaching, it spans the period of time through from expectancy, when employees are planning their leave, when they're then on leave, starting to think about their return, and then back into their jobs, into their careers, and trying to balance that family and work life that we've all experienced and that we've had a chat about. So it can typically cover a time span of around 18 months, but can be longer if they require more support when they get back, or shorter if they take a shorter amount of time. So that can be varied. It's not to be confused with parental coaching, which I'm sure you know and you get that, but sometimes people do get that confused in terms of it's not actually coaching and how to be a parent. It's how to manage really well that transition from professional to parent and then to working parent. So yeah, we mentioned before loads of benefits for the individual, which we've all experienced and which we will come to talk about just in a few moments. Just to think.
Is this just me? With Andy breaking up? Is it everyone?
No, I've lost the
Andy,
connection.
you're just breaking up a minute. I'm just the screen is sort of frozen. You're back.
If it's you say, oh no.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh
Andy,
no, sorry about that.
That's okay. You're back again. It's all fine. We probably lost you for about 20 seconds.
Oh, sorry about that. That's never happened before. Let me just check on my Wi-Fi's full. Oh, well, anyway, I'll continue. We'll hope it stays. Yeah, so basically, yeah, loads of individual benefits that we will cover in a moment or two, but also benefits to the organisations that supporting these employees. So we're looking at engagement and connection. Obviously, organisations, they really thrive when their people are engaged and empowered. And offering a coaching package can be as simple yet like a really powerful tool to enable the parents within their organisation to feel valued and supported. So yeah, really trying to value those working parents by offering this is just is a really great way of just increasing that trust, that motivation. So and then obviously then when there is that connection, then you potentially get an increased retention. So that's been a really big thing for companies recently around just retaining their employees, and actually with coaching and with them feeling more supported and more engaged, then they reduce those turnover costs and implications that can happen when employees are dissatisfied and moving out. So yeah, there's some of those are just some benefits to the organisation. Also, just having employees that are developing themselves, that are developing their skills, that are developing their confidence. As we are able to kind of help the clients, it then helps them to bring their best to the organisations as well. So yeah, so if we move on to looking at how is parental coaching different. Now, obviously, we're all coaches here, and we've heard your backgrounds and your coaches yourselves, and so you'll have a huge amount of experience in that already and the basics. But this is basically wanting to build on that and really equip coaches just with those extra skills and understanding that enables us to support parents at work. So yeah, let's just have a little look at our first question. We're supporting this unique client group, and these aren't just pregnant mums. These are mums with, maybe had IVF. They're adoptive parents that are on their first, second, or third pregnancies. Sometimes we're talking about dads as well. So we're actually talking about both parents. So yeah, it's a huge range of pregnancy journeys that we cover. But what kind of changes do you think, obviously it's such a different range of people, but there's this commonality in terms of this massive change period that they're going through. What kind of changes do you think, in terms of our own experiences, that we might have struggled with during this time? Is anyone able to kind of throw a few ideas, being as we're a small group?
Definitely the first part, this physical change. Lots of hormones kicking in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it plays a huge role in your interactions with family members, so all these relational changes, your identity change also, to embrace the new, especially when you're a first mom. It is like first time mom, I mean, it's quite challenging to accept the new identity, and there's quite a bit of uncertainty. You still don't know what to expect, and yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, Esli. It's like, it's exactly that, isn't it? You have this corporate identity that you might have been in for a number of years, and then there's a huge change to trying to accept and understand yourself as a mum, and the kind of that maternal identity, and then moving on again to that professional parent and all of the changes that come with that. So that's huge, and it can have a real impact on people. As you mentioned, physically, so much going on in such a short period of time, and even just the change of routine is so dramatic, isn't it? From that very structured, quite fast-paced work environment to mat leave, which is almost a complete kind of contrast in the structure of a day or a week. So massive changes that all of these parents and parents-to-be are experiencing. And I think because of those, we really see a huge variation really in these emotional responses that come with these changes. So this is something that, as in parental transition coaching, we are really well positioned to support these clients going through these really strong emotions. And as
I just say as well, Andy, sorry, just on that,
yeah.
I just think I think that like dads have an awful time as well. And I don't know about other countries, but in Ireland, it just recently came in that dads get 2 weeks of paternity leave now, which is great. I don't know about the UK or the other countries. But like, if you think about it, like they're taking 2 weeks off, more than likely when the baby is just born, they're coming back to work with the 2-week-old newborn probably, and a wife that's been through, because we all know men, they don't know. They have no idea until they're in the birthing suite and they're like, oh, okay. So this is what it is. So they're like, they might have, and especially if it's traumatic birth or something, they might have unresolved things around that. It's only 2 weeks, nobody's sleeping, they're trying to support their partner, and we just expect dads to come back and just be, okay, right, you're whatever you are now, go and keep performing, whereas maybe, now I don't know, but you kind of expect women to like have a bit of more of a transition back into the workplace after having a baby. But I think with dads, we just kind of expect like, okay, right, how's the baby? Show us a picture. And
Yeah.
this is on your desk for you since you left. Do you know, that kind of way?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's such a great point, Claire, because you're right, and we coach dads that are kind of planning and that are coming back from paternity leave, and the changes are they're also massively significant. Maybe not physically in the same way as the mum has gone through, but in terms of emotionally, in terms of the change in their role, the change in their values as well. There's huge amounts that we are able to support them with. And these feelings of vulnerability and uncertainty, they're not just safe for the mum, are they? Actually, that there's a lot going on there with the dads as well. So we're really well positioned to be able to support both, and I think that's something that we really want to bring across in our course, is that we really want to be able to equip you to support parents who are employees within organisations across a wide kind of variety of the pregnancy journeys, whether they're the dad, the mum, as I say, whether they have gone through an IVF journey, whether there's adoption. There's all kinds of different challenges that people will face, but with this commonality of a massive change that we're able to support. So actually that brings us on to our next point, actually, because we've kind of said that actually there's this multifaceted approach to parental transition coaching, because the challenges are so much kind of more complex, and quite regularly we can be talking about physical, emotional and practical issues and challenges, and supporting clients with those, even within the space of a one coaching session. So that does make it quite different from some other coaching kind of approaches. So I think because of that, contracting is massive. I mean, obviously we're all going to be experienced coaches and understand the value and the importance of contracting, but even more so in this particular field where you're really having to follow the client's agenda between all of these different layers of complexity and challenge that they might be facing. So thirdly, we kind of talk a lot in the course about this combination of a coaching and mentoring approach. So whereas the traditional coaching model of really helping to find the answers, helping the clients find the answers within themselves, that does still form a huge aspect and a huge component of what we do as parental transition coaches. But we really do talk about introducing that mentoring element, where we're able to bring in some advice, contracted for, obviously, suggestions, maybe tried and tested models, frameworks. There's a lot that we can offer in this area to help and just to bring some input into these parents that are going through these challenging times. So yeah, the thing is with this course, I think is just a really good opportunity to develop that. There's understanding and there's skills to take our coaching from just the traditional coaching that we have maybe been used to, and really building and adding onto that to support this particular client group. So yeah, let's move on to our next slide, which is just we've looked at the benefits to organisations and just looking now at the benefits to individuals. Now, I think we've mentioned a few of these ourselves. Have you got anything in terms of, we've heard a bit from your introductions, which were really insightful, but have you got anything else that you would add in there? Any challenges particularly that you faced?
That flexibility one just really popped up there.
Yeah.
I had an awful time. I couldn't get either of my kids into creche until my little boy was 9 months old. So I had an awful time with sickness because it was COVID, and they were like, they didn't meet anybody ever, because I was a bit controlling about that, and germs and whatever. So when I went back to work, it was just, they were sick. I think there was about 9 months where there was at least one of them sick every week. So I didn't do a full week of work.
Yeah.
I'd say for nearly 9 months, because my husband, God forbid, he'd take a day, God forbid. Even though I was on the higher earner than him. So if anything, I should have been the one to go to work. But anyway, so just like the pressure and the guilt, not only the guilt at home that you felt, but I remember one specific time my little boy had RSV and he was having awful trouble breathing. So I had to bring him to the doctor and then bring him to A&E, rang my manager and said, look, I can't, obviously I have to go to hospital. He was like, oh yeah, your family comes first. literally I was in the car driving to A&E, and he texted me to say, you need to make this call. I was like,
Yeah.
no, just no. And then almost put me on a performance improvement plan. Then when I came back 2 days later after being overnight with my son in hospital who couldn't breathe, do you know, like just.
Yeah. I think there's a few points you touched on there, which is so valuable. That feeling of guilt is something that is very common, comes up time and time again, and we're really well positioned as parental transition coaches to help our clients to understand that, to identify it, and to take steps towards from a manager. Can you still hear me again?
Got back now.
Lost you for about 5 seconds, but I can hear you now. I'm
back again. Okay, well, I'm nearly done my bit, so then I can freeze. But yeah, these issues around understanding from managers are huge, and we can really support our clients to with that manager communication, with those relationships at work. Anything else that's just resonating, looking at a few of those ones that have come up, or any of your own?
Actually, you already said it, Andy. It's the guilt part, but actually here in the sample statement, it's the opposite of what I've experienced, because I would really wake up. So I'll just put my baby to sleep, and then I really wake up. It's like working all throughout. So I think instead of feeling guilty about work, it's the opposite. So I feel guilty for not spending as much quality time with my daughter. And I guess because if they're babies, it was more tolerable for me. But as they grow and they understand that they're not being prioritized, I think that was when it hit me also.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? And exactly what you say, Rochelle, it's on both sides, isn't it? You guilt for work, guilt at home, and sometimes these are our clients, they feel like they just can't kind of be everything to everybody, but we can really support them in that. There's as coaches and as kind of specialist parental transition coaches, these are some of the challenges, some of the issues that our clients are facing, that we can really walk with them and help them as they navigate that journey and all the emotions that go with it. So
sorry, I could just add also that in
Yes.
Asia, in Asia, it's very common to have very short parental leave or maternity leave. So I think when you say transition, I think people tend to forget already that after the 6-month period, they feel like you're 100% back to who you were before, when it's not really the case. It could be, I mean, it's a forever journey.
Exactly. It's such a great point, because it's not, because when we talk about this kind of, potentially this 18 months of transition, you're exactly right. You actually end up in a completely different place. So it's not a temporary transition. We get to support for a finite amount of time during that, but the whole transition carries on, doesn't it? It's a great point. And it's just such a rewarding, fantastic kind of way to be a parental transition coach, and be able to help navigate through that season, and to be part of that journey is massively rewarding. And I've seen just such a positive impact of that coaching on this group of clients. So yeah, really, really great. So I'm going to hand over to Jill, who's she's mentioned before, recently completed the course, and so she's going to talk a bit more about the course itself and how the programme has supported her to help her clients with these challenges.
Thanks, Andy.
Jill.
Thanks. What a beautiful context, right, within which to be coaches. Like you say, it's a real privilege, and I think you've beautifully set up why this work is so valuable and so important, and why this programme really serves a vital purpose, I think, in supporting parents on that journey. So the programme itself has lots of different elements to it, actually, which makes it a very rich learning programme. Obviously, we start by looking at the key principles involved in parental transition coaching. What makes this type of coaching different? What types of transitions might our coaches face? We've touched on a lot of those already with the examples you've given. Contracting, Andy's touched on the importance of contracting in quite a dynamic and difficult context sometimes. So you've got the organization, you've got HR maybe involved, you've got the line manager, you've got the coachee themselves. And then you've got coaching on a session by session basis and what's changing for the client, and even in a moment by moment basis with what's being surfaced. So your skills in contracting and boundary setting are really, really important in this space. And we do a lot of exploration around ethics and the legislation and policies, and how do we navigate that space as coaches to make sure we are doing the right work with our clients in the right moments. And then obviously the physical and emotional well-being journey that we go on, and that changes daily, if not hourly, right, when you're a parent. So how do we help them on that journey as all those changes are going on for them? You also get the chance to develop your own coaching skills as we learn these principles. So each week you have the chance to hear about a case study. So it's a real life case study that Andy or myself have experienced with a client, so that we can start applying those principles to real life. There is lots of space for role playing, so you can practice your coaching skills. Sometimes it'll be group discussion, so we can have some peer-to-peer learning in there and sharing our own experiences. What do we need to be considering as coaches with this particular topic, where we are on that journey? And also then you can reflect on your own experiences, your own coaching clients, your own personal journey as a parent, and take some time to think about the type of coach you want to be in this space. Who are you as a parental transition coach? How is what you're learning impacting you? What's that telling you about yourself as a coach and the direction of travel you want to go in? I really valued this part of the program to just evolve as a coach and really think about the space I wanted to operate within and how I was showing up, and processing some of my own personal journey within that, and my own triggers and the things that, you know, I might find difficult in this space, or the things that I really feel I can bring to this space as a coach. So yeah, lots of opportunity for self-reflection and learning. And then, as I said, that the ethics and the contracting, so that we feel safe as coaches in this space. It is a delicate space to be in sometimes, and we need to know when to coach, when to mentor, when to refer, what's our role, what's HR's role, and just exploring that whole space around you as a coach, and how you can be really effective and impactful within this space, but sticking to your boundaries within that. So in terms of why you might bother to do it, I think all of you clearly have a passion for this space already. So there's a big personal driver amongst all of you, I can tell. I think it does give you an opportunity to diversify your skills. Obviously, you're going to learn new things. There'll probably be some new coaching tools, new skills, new things you can learn from each other. It can be a differentiator for you, therefore, in your coaching practice as you build your business. Personally, I've learned lots of new things in this program that are really helping me cement, I guess, my desire and my credibility to kind of work in this space as a parental transition coach. And it opens up more opportunities for me now. I think I went through the full program, I did the accreditation, and I've got the PTCQ certificate. And that gives me, I think, a platform upon which I can really go out there and reach new clients, and talk with a great deal of credibility and authenticity in this space about how I can support client organizations. I've read an example recently. I used to work for Danone, the food business, and they've recently included working parents, interestingly, as one of their 5 ED&I pillars, so equality, diversity, and inclusion. They have an employee network group around it. And suddenly you think, okay, well, there's an opportunity. You know, there's a client who's really valuing this space, who's really putting well-being of working parents on their agenda. So that could be someone I could reach out to. So I think it gives you opportunities to think about your clients and who you might target. As we've already sensed, I think the potential for helping vulnerable clients on this journey and the impact you can have is huge. It really can be transformational to someone's journey, having some support. It never fails to amaze me and to sort of touch me as to how valuable this coaching is. I've got lots of stories of clients that they stay with me because you help them so much and you make such a difference to their lives at such a crucial time in their life. So yeah, I think it's a genuine privilege to be part of those journeys and to create real transformational impact as a coach. And then there's lots of opportunity to grow as well yourself. both through the self-reflection, through the skills you learn, through learning from each other, through learning about different cultures and different legislation and how it works in different places, opens your eyes, it expands your thinking, and all of that I think builds then your professional credibility. And I'll go on and talk a little bit about the assessment and the accreditation process, but this is a very robust programme supported by the ICF, and I think with ever increasing numbers of coaches in this world, it's important both for us individually to feel like we are investing in ourselves and supporting our ability to be great coaches, but also building the professionalism of coaching, you know, as a profession, that we are upskilling ourselves and making coaching really stand for something great through a robust training and investment. So just in terms of sort of selection criteria, I'm sure you've been sent this information already, but you will have I guess already have some coaching skills. So this isn't a new to coaching space. It's assumed that you have a coach qualification or have been coaching for a number of years. We don't go into the basics of coaching. We start with an assumption that you all know what you're doing, and then we're building on top of that and building this foundation for parental transition coaching. Ideally, you've also got organizational experience, which sounds like you all have, so that you understand the context within which your clients are operating and the different dynamics and relational context for parental transition coaching. And as you all are also a parent yourself, that helps. You don't have to be a parent, but knowledge of that parental journey is really, really valuable, obviously, so that you have the empathy and understanding of what your clients might be going through. So what we thought we'd do to finish is take you through a little bit of just a broad outline of the programme. We'll talk through the assessment criteria, and then we'll just come on and talk about the scheduling and fees for the programme. So I'm going to hand back to Andy just to take you through the overview of the programme.
Thanks so much, Jill. Thank you. Yeah, we'll just run through this quickly. It'd be nice to make sure that we leave some time at the end for any questions. But just as a summary, the course starts with the introduction to parental transition coaching, a little bit of what we spoke about today, and going into a bit more detail, looking into the scope of the parental transition client, again talking about not just the natural births, but all of the other pregnancy journeys that people are experiencing. We really take a deep dive into transitions, change management, and the associated emotions, because that really is the kind of a lot of the bread and butter of this parental transition coaching. That really emotional and psychological side. Then more practically, moving on into the middle section of the course, we look into ethics, contracting, confidentiality, and obviously these are broader coaching concepts, but we just tailor those to the specifics of parental transition coaching. The coaching program, the course program then follows the journey of the parental transition client. So preparing to leave work, looking at the practical side and the psychological, emotional side of that, bringing that support in at that point. Then we look at the next section, which is preparing to return. So there's almost a gap in the middle there between, well, not a physical gap, but there's this kind of transitional moment where you've been supporting the pregnant and the expectant, or the mum, dad, whoever, and then the second part is then looking maybe potentially a year later when they're starting to think about their return, the emotional side and all that comes with that, and the practical planning. Following that, the course takes us through that journey to supporting the working parent. So when they're back at work, when they're managing the work-family balance, managing the juggle, and starting to think about their ongoing career development. And we look into ways that we can best support our clients in that as well. During the middle section of the course, we have a guest speaker, Ian, and he comes in to talk to us about the focus on preparing for fatherhood, which was something that Claire brought up earlier, which is just so important, is not to forget the dads in all of this. So he gives a really insightful, really valuable session on fatherhood and all that is going on there and how we can best support our dads. Thanks, Jill.
Thanks, Andy. So a little bit now on the assessment. So there is the option to to either do the sort of the 12 sessions, the webinars, and get the ICF CCE credits. And you can also choose to do the PTCQ qualification as well, which is what I'm going to talk through now in terms of the extra learning that is required for that. It's very rigorous. As I said, it is ICF accredited. It's 19 CCE units for completing the 12 weeks. And then the assessment is based on a competency framework. So there's sort of 24 competencies that we believe are really valuable as parental transition coaches. And you work with ideally a couple of clients whilst you're going through the program. So you'll be coaching people who are going on this journey for themselves. And then you're asked to do two things. So the first is to record a session with one of those clients and do the transcript. So you do a verbatim sort of write-up of that conversation and compare that with the competency framework and think about, okay, how have I demonstrated these competencies within this conversation? So you're sort of self-assessing your ability to kind of bring in these competencies into your coaching work. And then with the second client, you do a written case study. So that's where, again, you don't do that as a verbatim thing, but after a couple of sessions, you would then reflect and say, okay, here's the journey I went on with this coaching client. Here are the sorts of topics we touched on. And here's how I approached it as a coach. And here's what I've learned about myself as a coach. Here are some of the competencies I brought in. Here are some of the things maybe that I didn't do so well, but here's what I would do differently. So it's a very self-reflective piece of work. So you'll be working with a couple of clients. So one's recorded, one's a written case study. And across both of those, hopefully you'll be able to demonstrate the 24 competencies. You don't have to demonstrate all 24 with each. It's a total. And sometimes you may not even be able to demonstrate one of those competencies because that's not where the conversation goes. That's fine. In the written case study, you can allude to that and say, I didn't get the chance to talk about this, but if I did, this is what I would have covered. So there's sort of scope to make sure you can reflect all the competencies within your assessment. You will also need written feedback from the client who does the coach recording so that we're getting, again, regular feedback on our coaching practice, learning what we can do better and what we're already doing well. There is a very comprehensive e-learning online portal run by Parent and Professional. So there's the opportunity for self-directed learning. So you work your way through those modules. They align broadly to the course content, not exactly, but there are sections on pre-leave, during leave, and the return to work. So, and from the coachee's perspective and the line manager's perspective. So they also include loads of brilliant tools and frameworks and things you can download and use in your coaching practice. So we encourage the completion of that online learning portal alongside the webinars. And then finally, attending the webinars themselves. So we expect attendance for at least 75% of the live webinars. We appreciate you can't always get to all of them because of work commitments or family holidays and things, but 3/4 of them need to be attended in order to complete the programme. Helen, shall I hand back to you just to talk through the final sort of logistics of the programme?
Yeah, no problem. So we've got 2 sets of dates here that you can see. We can send these to you. I expect you to remember them all. The key dates are that the very next cohort starts on the 17th of April, so in 6 weeks' time, and that is going to be facilitated by Jill. You'll see that the timings of the webinars as well. So the first one is 90 minutes. All of the others are an hour. We do them across lunchtime to try to fit them into your day a little bit better. And also for those clients who are dialing in from different locations, lunchtime seems to be the best bit, really. And then the key date, I guess, is finishing on the 17th of July, just in time for the summer holidays. The assessments then we've got from the 17th of July until the 4th of September, and then the latest you will find out and have those assessments returned is the 16th of October, and that's the final date. And then we've got a second cohort for this year. If 6 weeks' time is too soon for you, that starts with Andy on the 10th of September, finishing again just before Christmas so that you get the Christmas break free. And then finally, just on the pricing, so there's 2 options. So option 1, you might do the whole thing. So you collate all your CCEs, you attend the full programme, you go through the full assessment, and then we work with you during that assessment to ensure that ultimately you walk away with the ICF qualification and that certification. So the prices are on there. So there's 2 prices. One price is for if you're putting it through your work, the corporate price, but there is a self-funding discount as well on there. And then the second option for those people who don't want to do the assessment and the qualification, but you do want to collate the CCEs for the ICF, then there's again slightly lower prices there. Also, the cost, you can spread it across 2 installments, so you don't need to pay it all up front. So the first one is before the program starts, and then the second one is normally about 6 weeks into the program. And then finally, we've got between now and the end of March, there's a 10% discount on sign-ups for the April cohort. So hopefully that's given you a whistle-stop tour. So let's just sort of find out if you've got any other questions for any of us, really.
Can you go